Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm willing to bet that we all share a common desire to eat good food and feel good eating it. But we're often confused about what to eat, or we get stuck in bad habits, or we experience food guilt or body shame spirals that prevent us from truly feeling good and thriving. So today I want to share 6 common nutrition mistakes people make when trying to improve their eating habits in relationship with food. And just a heads up, these mistakes might not be what you expect. My name is Katie and I'm a behavioral food therapist in San Francisco. Welcome to Whole Nourishment, where I discuss topics commonly addressed in client sessions about our relationship to food, emotional resilience, and whole food nutrition. Before I dive into the 6 nutrition mistakes and offer ideas for what you can do instead, I want to share my definition of nutrition and what has influenced it. So I used to think about nutrition in very black and white terms, that it all had to do with food and exercise. But after 15 years of studying integrative nutrition, behavior change, and epidemiology, integrating this knowledge into my personal life, and then working with clients as well, I no longer think about nutrition in such a one-sided way. I see nutrition as whole nourishment, hence the name of my business, where true nourishment is like an onion. There are layers of nourishment we can peel back in our everyday life that have to do with what we eat, but also how we eat, how we think about food, like our attitudes and beliefs, and how we process emotions and how we live. My partner and I lived as expats in Europe for 6 years before moving to San Francisco, where we are now. We lived in Switzerland, then in Spain. And as a result, I've worked with clients across 3 countries representing 12 nationalities. And even though my clients had unique backgrounds, cultures, and food traditions, I always met them where they were. And I found that a common thread in my work with all of them that improved their health and well-being was applying this broader perspective of nutrition in their daily lives. Because how we think about food and our health impacts how we eat and how we feel, just as much as what we eat. And these 6 nutrition mistakes I'm sharing today touch on this holistic view of health. Nutrition mistake number 1 is that we're focused on weight, calories, and macronutrients. So I have several videos that I'll link down below for you on weight loss and intuitive eating, where I discuss why counting calories and obsessing over weight and how many carbs, fat, or protein grams we're eating is not going to lead to lasting change. That's because this teaches us to place more trust and attention on external measures than internal cues, what our body's telling us. Nutrition and health is not a one-size-fits-all, so we have to take cues from our body to identify what's best for it. There's even research that now shows fitness tracking gadgets like Fitbit encourage an obsessive focus on numbers and competition and appearance, which can lead to eating disorder symptoms. So it's only when we're operating from a true non-diet, inside-out approach, where we're taking cues from our body and mindful awareness, that we can begin to think about applying potentially helpful nutritional guidelines without the risk of turning them into another rigid rule. Instead of weight and calories, I help my clients improve health and habits by focusing on things like the color spectrum of nutrients, variety of foods, the satisfaction factor of eating, adopting non-food coping mechanisms, and shifting attitudes and beliefs towards food. You know, the French and a lot of Mediterranean countries have traditionally had lower rates of chronic lifestyle diseases. And a lot of this has to do with how their lifestyle is set up and their attitudes towards food and mealtime. In fact, one study showed the French are more likely to associate, indulgent food like cake with celebration, whereas Americans associate it with guilt. Nutrition mistake number 2 is that we're not paying attention to our food. We're multitasking while we eat. We see food as an obstacle to our day rather than an important event in the day. Food's an afterthought. And when we do think about food, many of us think about it in good and bad terms, focusing on calories and macronutrients, as I mentioned in nutrition mistake number 1. Here are 3 ways we can give positive attention to food instead. The first way is when you choose a food, ask yourself, will this be satisfying? Is this what I really want to eat right now? A second way is to notice how you interact with food. So did you cook it? Did someone else cook it? Is it coming from a package? How we interact with food really does matter. And if you're wanting to make healthy lifestyle changes, the secret isn't in the celery juice of the juice bar or the superfoods you add to your smoothie. The secret is the attitude you have towards food and specifically towards cooking, because just like anything worthwhile in life, eating well at home takes a little bit of effort to set up a system that allows you to plan meals and take time to cook and eat. But once it's set up though, it's a repeatable formula that you'll continue to reap the benefits from. And the third way to pay attention to food is to slow down and be a single tasker when eating. If not for the whole meal, try at least for the first 3 bites. I can't tell you how often this is what helps my clients dealing with everything from food guilt to heartburn and bloating. Slowing down is like turning on the lights in a dark room. It allows us to see how we eat impulsively without thinking, or how fast we're eating, or how our body's responding to the food. And it's this awareness that's the catalyst for change. Nutrition mistake number 3 is that we turn to food instead of our emotions. We use food to soothe, cope, distract, procrastinate, and numb. And hey, it's okay to do this on occasion because, hello, we're human. But when it's compulsive or desperate or out of control, that's a problem for which we want to seek out help from a coach or a therapist well-versed in this non-diet approach. There are some good mindfulness techniques and tactical tools I give my clients to safely turn towards their emotions rather than stuffing them down with food. And you can always reach out to schedule your free 30-minute consult with me if this is something you want support with as well. But if you're looking for some quick practices, the book 50 Ways to Soothe Without Food by Dr. Susan Albers gives great ideas. And a few weeks ago, I made a video all about emotional eating. If you haven't watched it and you struggle with this one, I suggest checking it out, and I'll link it down below for you. Nutrition mistake number 4 is that we have rigid expectations for our bodies. We expect our body and the food we put into it to work the same way it always has, specifically the way it did when we were younger. But did you know that our skin, our liver, and the atoms in our body regenerate over a period of months to a year, depending on the body part? And the truth is that our thoughts, emotions, circumstances, environment, and physical body change continuously throughout our life. Yet we expect our body to weigh the same, act the same, and the food to work in the same way. To adopt a more realistic, gentler expectation for ourselves, we have to work on strengthening our emotional resilience, our ability to be psychologically agile with physical change, to be flexible in how we internalize and respond to our dynamic needs. Nutrition mistake number 5 is that we live in the extremes. This work hard, play hard culture of ours leads us to think if something's good, then more of it's even better. We believe we have to take huge steps to see change instead of making small tweaks. Here are some examples. We might try a month of going paleo or vegan. We'll do hardcore cardio workouts, but we don't see the value in stretching, walking, or yin yoga. Or we try cutting out all of our vices at once, like caffeine, salt, sugar, alcohol. Instead, it's kinder and more successful in the long run if we take baby steps and make incremental changes. To truly care for our bodies is to pay attention to the subtleties. Things like eating before we get too hungry, drinking water throughout the day, or other things like listening to and trusting our body, honoring our need for rest during the day or for restorative activities. Or maybe it's things like letting our thoughts wander rather than always being surrounded by noise and information from news, podcasts, and music. We think the harder we work, the more we push, the more we sweat, the better. But in my work with clients, what I see we're missing the most in helping our bodies come back into balance is integrating stillness, silence, and restoration in our lives. The 6th and final nutrition mistake is that we don't anticipate our food needs. Proactively anticipating our food needs for the day is another way we can bring positive attention to food that I mentioned in nutrition mistake number 2. And this is a common pitfall for many of us. We're caught unprepared while we're out or at work or traveling. And when we wait too long to eat, we let our blood sugar drop too low and get into the primal hunger space, which leads to a cascade of negative effects. I explained primal hunger in a video on digestion, which I'll link down below for you if you want to go back and watch it. One trick to anticipate your needs is when you eat your next meal, think about, what am I eating for? Do you need it to last you for a short or longer amount of time? What energy demands will you have in the next 4 hours? In other words, think about what your day looks like and what you can have on hand to get you through it. It's liberating and empowering to think about our health in this more holistic way. We too often make food choices from a place of fear, defeat, rebellion, or obligation. But to live well, to be well, we need to feel hopeful and joyful engaging with food. We need to have a sense of agency when it comes to food choices, so we're encouraged to take positive, deliberate steps. I share many useful tools and practices with my clients to help them overcome these challenges, whether it's for emotional eating, slowing down during meals, adopting a non-diet approach, becoming more emotionally resilient, or any of the other challenges I mentioned today. So if you'd like one-on-one support in any of these areas, get in touch. I offer a complimentary 30-minute session to learn more about you and see if we'd be a good fit to work together. I'll leave the contact info down in the description box below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.